What's up, boys?
What up,
Episode
boy?
81, harshlanguage.tv. Go check it out. Fuck this intro. I got to get into some shit, Marvin. I'm coming in
We
fucking.
don't need the intro.
Dan's pissed off
That was
again.
enough.
What the hell are we supposed to use, man? Harsh language?
I'm coming in hot because if I hear one more fucking good thing about Avatar: The Last Airbender on Netflix, I'm gonna flip a table. Okay? I know you haven't watched it, Marvin. You've been baby gaming pretty hard these last couple days.
Yep.
I watched it. Dusty watched it. We have to talk about it.
Wait, did you finish it?
I finished it last night.
I've,
Yeah.
I've
Okay.
seen what
All right.
I've seen the
All right.
original that matters. So
I
I don't
know.
need to see
Yeah,
this
yeah.
fucking bullshit.
The anime is where it's at.
That's not anime, but yeah.
It's like anime light. It's inspired by anime. Can we say that? Is that fair to say?
I don't think it is.
I think the animations are like inspired by like Japanese
So, you
You
animation.
guys don't even
What do you-
watch anime.
I do not. The
So
only
what
anime
do you-
I've
What
ever
do you
watched in my
classify?
life.
What do you classify? Wait, what do you classify the original Avatar: The Last Airbender as?
It's a cartoon.
Then? Like, okay, it's just a cartoon. All right, that's
Yeah.
fair.
It's not an anime.
It's animated.
I agree with Marvin. It's not an anime, but I think
that's
it-
fair. Yeah.
I think it does take some inspiration from anime. And just to be clear, Marvin, the
Yeah.
only anime I've ever watched in my life, well, two of them, Cowboy Bebop and Akira, or Akira, how
Nice.
you want to pronounce it
Go
properly.
guys! Shout out. Good one.
Okay, we got to talk about this because this is getting people are like talking about it like positively, and I don't understand it because there is not a single redeeming quality of this show. Okay, and I also want to be clear about something. I promise you, on
There are some good things about the show, but
calm down.
most of
Let me
it
finish
is-
my point here. Relax. I promise you, on everything that I hold dear in this life, you guys included, I am not comparing it to the cartoon. It is an impossible comparison. They are two different mediums. They are two different genres, two different types of acting. It's completely different. So I'm not comparing the two. However, there are a couple of things that I have to compare, okay? Because I am familiar with these characters and their journeys in the story, okay? And this is an adaptation, so I have to compare a little bit, but I just want to make it clear that I am not saying this is bad because it's not the original, okay? I watched it as if I was unfamiliar with these characters altogether. I watched it simply as a show that's on Netflix. The same I do with everything. I told you guys, I always tell my aunt to go watch shit. That's how I watch these things. If I was going to recommend this to her, would she like it? Okay? This is a bad fucking show. And it's
Did
bad.
she like it?
I didn't
did
tell
she
her.
like
I
it?
didn't tell her to watch it. I didn't tell her to watch it.
No.
I'm just
Well,
making
that
that's
means
one of the
it's
things
bad.
that's commented on. Is like one of the things is like I could tell my 60-year-old uncle to watch this show, and we can actually talk about it. Whereas if I said watch this cartoon, he would have said go fuck yourself. But now that it's live action, I can actually talk to my uncle about this story.
Yeah.
So there is some redeeming values, but go ahead.
There aren't. That's completely subjective. But let me say my piece and then
It
you could
is.
go. This show is bad in every possible way. Okay, that it could
Yes.
be. The acting is atrocious. Okay, like with like a few exceptions. One of them being the dude playing Fire Lord Ozai. He's actually pretty good.
Okay.
Yep. That's what I
Was that the
gonna
guy
say, is
that didn't even know
the
what
fire
the show
stories.
was, though? Which actor was that?
Oh
that thought
yeah,
he
I
was,
saw that.
What'd you
he
say,
thought he
Mark?
was. One guy thought he
one
was
of the guys-
auditioning for Avatar the movie.
He thought
I
he
don't
was.
know.
He,
He didn't
thought
even
he
know.
was. He thought he was playing like Avatar the movie, the blue guys,
Yes.
like
Okay. Well,
But
I
he
don't
didn't
know.
know it was Avatar: The Last Airbender. It knew different whole storyline.
I didn't hear about that, but the guy who
I did see that. That was funny.
the guy who plays Ozai did a voice in the show originally. He was the general of the Earth Nation or whatever.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name. He was like a smaller part, but he was in the original, which is cool. I thought he was good. He's actually a good choice for Ozai. He's got the look. He sounds a lot like him.
Yep.
And I didn't even realize this. I was actually looking it up. Can you two guess who, without looking it up, who did the voice of Fire Lord Ozai in the original series? Because I had no idea about this. Mark Hamill.
No.
I couldn't believe it when I saw it. I
Oh, wow.
had no idea. So anyhow, He's decent,
Interesting.
but the acting, I would say 99% of it is terrible. The dialogue is horrendous. It's like this was
I
written.
thought the acting was okay. The dialogue was definitely bad.
The
but
dialogue,
acting was
the
okay.
writing of the dialogue is it's an embarrassment. Honestly, it's like it was written by a child. Okay.
Insert exposition here to make you feel better.
The CGI is terrible.
Oof. that
Terrible.
sucks.
Okay. Nah, we're in 2024.
Better than the
dude.
live action movie.
Everything's better than that. I could have made that better in stop motion. Okay, that's not saying much.
Right.
Okay, if you want to give
No,
one
it's
positive
not.
thing,
That's fair.
about the show is they don't call him Ong. They call him Ang. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. The CGI is fucking terrible. And really, the only time this show is actually good is when it reminds you of the animated series. Okay.
Right.
There were like one or two moments where I actually got a little choked up, but it was solely because it's relying on my knowledge of the original. Okay.
Right.
There is one such
Mhm.
moment that I think they did a pretty good job of it, and it is having to do with Iroh, and somebody tells him he doesn't know what loss is, and then it goes to I'm actually gonna get choked up talking about it. It goes to a flashback of his son's funeral, and in the background you hear the tune of the song,
The song
Brave
that he
Soldier
sang in
Boy.
the
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a little bit, but it's solely because I know the original, right?
Yeah.
Has nothing to do with this show, and I promise you that. They do nothing to establish the character other than that scene. Matter of fact, I was joking around. I watched it with Ed. Shout out to Ed.
Shout out.
There is not a single second of that Iroh knowledge being dropped, okay? Not a single second.
Oh, so it's,
I thought they did a
that's
decent
terrible.
job of exploring the complexities of the Fire Nation. And I thought they did a terrible job of exploring everything else. Like, they leaned in on the Fire Nation,
Wow.
and we got to see more of that. The daughter, the son, the uncle, and all of that. Like, that was like the only really redeeming value for me. But everything else, like Aang and the waterbenders, like it was bad what they did.
It's
and
very
what they left out and what they didn't do. It was bad. But
Now
the
listen.
firebending story was the only really redeeming value for me. And that's my position on it.
That's fair. There are things in life that we are gifted. They are gifts, okay, from creatives. Avatar: The Last Airbender is one of those things. And there are things, these gifts should never be touched. We as a people need to just learn to just experience it when we get it and just leave it be. And that's that. We don't have to revisit it. We don't need live actions of cartoons. We don't need fucking remakes and reboots and sequels and this and that. If a thing is good, just let it be good and let it have its time. And you could always go back and visit it because it exists. It's a movie. It's not like it was wiped away from fucking human history. Okay. And the real failure of this is that it's an impossible task unless they really
Very
wanted
impossible.
to do it justice and do it right, but they didn't. They didn't care. They just wanted to make money off of it. That's why you have 20
It's
episodes
Netflix.
condensed into fucking 8.
Right.
Okay? They're not going to do it justice, okay? But the real failure of this is that it's so one-dimensional for everybody involved in this show. Sokka is a failure. Aang is afraid to face his responsibility.
Yep.
Katara
And he
is...
doesn't learn anything.
I'll get to that. Katara is a fucking female, so she's underappreciated and, you know, just not utilized. Feels she's not utilized properly. That's the depth of our main 3 characters, okay? Iroh, you just learned that he had a kid who died. You don't know nothing. Oh, and that he's the fucking, what do they call him? The Flame of the West, or what was his nickname? Because he was like a butcher in the war. Can't remember his nickname.
Oh,
The Butcher
yeah,
of Blaviken, whatever.
Yeah.
You just know that he was like a general. And he's
Yeah.
Fire Lord Ozai, no idea what his motivation is, just that he wants to like take over the world.
Yep.
Dragon of the West.
Dragon of the West, thank you. Fucking Zuko, whiny bitch, got kicked out of his house, wants to capture the Avatar. Nothing else. There's just no depth to these characters. And then Azula, the whole 7.5 episodes leads you to believe that she is like in a similar position as Katara. I'm a woman. I'm not taken seriously, so I need to practice 15 fucking times as hard as everybody else. But the twist of the season, Marvin, is that Fire Lord Ozai was only using Zuko's mission to spark a fire in Azula to bring out the best in her that Ozai knew she could be. And at the end, it ends basically with her like, you know, summoning her lightning, bending lightning, and then like leading an army. Okay.
And he smiles. But yeah, that's why like I think the Fire Nation was explored the most and the best. And
but that's not saying
that
a lot.
Was the only.
To be
no,
honest.
it's not.
To be
Because
honest,
like I said, one of the things that pissed me off the most is like Aang, like he's a better waterbender at the beginning of the animated show or the cartoon, however you want to fucking call it.
Yeah.
And he learns it with her, but in this one, he doesn't practice it at all. He's like, yeah, you know,
Marvin, you're learn.
okay. You're okay waterbending, and you should do this. And my master said this, but I'm not going to practice with you. I'm not going to learn it with you. I'm not going to do any of that shit because I need to go to the other Water Nation to really learn. Like, what the fuck?
Well, hang on. So
what the fuck?
Let's do the comparisons now, okay? He doesn't learn a second of waterbending from Katara.
No,
In fact, Katara's whole character, excuse me, is the whole premise. I'm choking on a peanut. I ate like a fucking protein bar before. I got like a peanut shard in my throat. The whole point of this show, Marvin, this season, the journey that they go on in this series, Aang can only convene with the past avatars at one of their temples, which is ridiculous. So that's the MacGuffin of them traveling. That's why they are traveling from place to place, so he could convene with
past avatars.
Yeah, there was I can't remember the names off the top of my head, but the female one with the war paint, Kyoshi, and then the firebender one.
Which that they switched all that around because
but hang
in
on,
the cartoon.
Forget the specifics. I just want to make it clear. That's why they're traveling from place to place. Okay, is so that he could like convene and get their guidance. Okay, that's the first thing. So the reason they go to the Northern Water Temple at the end, which is where season 1 ends in the cartoon, right? Of the Northern Water Tribe, is because he has a vision from Kyoshi that place is going to get attacked. That's why they're going there. Well, when he gets there, Katara is like, "Oh, I want to fucking fight," and you got the waterbending Grandmaster guy there.
Can't do it. You're a woman.
But that's from the cartoon. That's okay, because he refuses to train her at one point. However, what they've done is that instead of Katara training Aang along the way in what little she knows about waterbending, she doesn't train Aang at all. And now she's going to train him that she got the okay from the Grand Master, who is now impressed with her because she is basically Rey from Star Wars. She's just like perfect at it, which is fine. There are people who are naturally talented at things. No problem with that. But I do not like the way they did it.
Right.
She learns everything from her little book. And just by being like abrasive. And like, no, I'm going to do what I want because I'm good and I know I'm good. It's like, okay, cool, fine. But now that she has the acceptance of everybody, now she's going to teach Aang. Okay, so it was just a weird characterization. It's just to be like... I was
so mad that they did not train together the entire season. Well,
they changed a lot of stuff. Do you remember when her and Aang go into the cave of love, where like love is the way, the light, the way, or whatever the fuck, Marvin?
Secret tunnel.
Yeah, she goes in there with Sokka in this, and they have like a little like brother sister fucking like beef thing that he doesn't appreciate her. Aang's not there at all. Aang, but again,
it's wild. The changes are wild. Like,
well, because the changes.
I kind of understand why they did. I kind of understand why they tried to do what they did, but I don't appreciate the execution because. Again, there's so much exposition and there's so much just like forced, like, this is the story and
nothing happens.
Nothing happened.
Nothing happens, and not one of them, like, did I feel grow as a like, I have no, this is the main problem with it, and this is why I'm annoyed that they changed the stuff. I'm not annoyed just because they changed the shit that I wanted to see happen. It's because it affects the actual, like, core of the characters and their growth. If I just watched this plainly, 1 to 8 episodes, I would have no clue where these characters begin and end as characters. I don't know what their arcs are, because there are none. It's just like I said, it's very one-dimensional. Like, Sokka realizes, like, oh man, I could be better. I could be more than just a warrior, even though I failed at being a warrior. Katara is like, hey, I'm a strong woman, and everybody sees it now. And Aang is just like, well, maybe I guess I'll be the Avatar. Like, it's just, oh man, it's just so bad, really. And
they well, and that's the thing is, like, they left out, like, they assumed that people watching this already knew that, like, the big three.
I don't even think so.
And so
really,
they didn't need to tell the story of the big three. And so they opened up these other storylines of, like, the Fire Nation. Let's explore that. Like, the daughter is, she feels distressed and left out because her brother is, he's off having fun and fucking around on a boat. And, like, they went down these storylines that were interesting, but they totally left out, like, the main story of, like, this is the Avatar.
The other problem with it,
Airbender, and there's the Waterbender with him, but we're not going to touch any of that because who gives a fuck? We need to tell a different story, and that's where it was. I was like, no, this is not working for me.
And they ended up telling no story. Like,
yeah, pretty much.
All you learn is that Aang is the Avatar who can control all the elements and has a duty.
They tell it to you 17 times on the show.
He's
like,
fucking.
He's the Avatar.
I was making the joke the whole time.
Thanks for that exposition for the 17th time. I already knew that.
I was making the joke. I was comparing
the
it. I was comparing it to Iron Fist, because in the Iron Fist, like every 2 seconds, he's like a Pokemon. It's like, I'm the legendary Iron Fist. Every 2 seconds, Aang is like, I'm the Avatar. I'm the Avatar.
It's bad. It's bad.
No.
So don't waste your time.
It's bad,
Marvin.
Yeah, I'm not.
I'm glad you didn't watch it. And the thing is that there's going to be a second season because it's getting good reviews somehow. Somehow it's getting good reviews.
I don't understand.
Well, because
people watch stuff.
It's like we said when we watched fucking The Holdovers. We are starved for good movies and TV shows. That people get like the slightest whiff of anything decent and they're like, oh, this is great. Like, it's with like True Detective Night Country. That show was not fucking good, objectively not good, and people loved it. Yeah. Loved it. I know there was like a fucking political and like cultural like reasoning behind it, but it was not good. And people just like, it was like kind of okay, and people lost their minds with it. This was like visually appealing, maybe, and people are like, oh man, that's good. I could show this to my uncle and they would understand it. What are they understanding? I really honestly don't know. And again, this was never going to live up to the original. You can't expect that. Never did. I never expected that. But I was at least trying.
I like it. I like it in that it could bring some other people into it. Like I said, the uncle story that I talked about, like, this is a live action that could bring people into, maybe go watch the original, but
I don't know if it will.
Well, I get what Dusty's saying. I think he's saying, like, for instance, if you has C watched the original? I don't know if she has. I'm just pulling her out of a hat. If you sat her down and watched this and she was like, wow, this is interesting, but it's a bad show, she might be interested to actually see the better version of it and like learn these stories and characters and stuff. I think that's what Dusty's saying.
Maybe.
I could see that happening.
That's what I'm saying.
It's like two different audiences, kind of.
Completely
it is,
different
absolutely. Because animation is hard. You're hard to draw people into animation.
This show was made for peons that are flicking through Netflix and are like, this is magic and Game of Thrones stuff. Oh, I got it. Like Netflix is like desperately trying to get their Game of Thrones show. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. People do enjoy. I mean, I feel like a lot of people that are on Netflix, like you said, just enjoy that content that doesn't have a lot of depth, that just looks good.
Totally.
That has a nice aesthetic, a nice vibe to it. And it's like,
this doesn't even look good though. Like, I'm telling you, the CGI is ugly. Watch like the first episode, Marvin. Watch at least the first episode.
I mean, just because it has bad CGI though, like if like the setting is nice.
No,
it's
for
better
sure.
live action bending than the movie.
For sure, but not saying much.
So,
Right.
well, but that's not saying much. But people that watch the movie that didn't watch the cartoon would maybe be like, okay, this is better than the movie that I saw. So this is good. So that's why I think it's getting better reviews
Maybe.
than what Dan is talking about, because true fans, like literal true fans of the show, are like disappointed and let down by what they did
They
and
were
how
always
they
gonna be.
did it.
But
And there's a million explanations. And we saw, like, I don't know, did you guys watch the Ryan Airy video where
No.
he's talking to 3 other people and every one of them were huge fans? Was like, yeah, no, not the same. Not as good. They fucked it up.
Well, again, as we've talked about a lot here on the show, if you are adapting something, you have a responsibility to its existing audience to do it justice.
Yes.
It's the same thing I've said about the Witcher series. It's the same thing I'll say about this. I've said it about 100 other things. That's just what it like. You know.
Yeah.
I saw recently Daisy Ridley.
Superman.
Daisy Ridley was like saying something about, because she's expected to be in another movie starring Ray, and she was like,
Yeah.
"Oh man, I was like, I couldn't." Like, she was like shitting like her brains out. She was like riddled with anxiety when she got the role of Ray, because and a lot of people have said this is just the fandom is very toxic and like this, that, and the other thing. No actor should have to deal with harassment and all that stuff for taking on a role. That's ridiculous. However, you have to have at least a tiny bit of a thick skin that when you're entering a franchise like Star Wars or Avatar or Witcher, which is very popular, like when you're entering a franchise that has a huge fan base or a dedicated fan base, that you're going to get criticism when you're not doing it right, when you're not giving people what they want. It's natural. So
Yeah, like when Taylor Swift covered Earth, Wind, and Fire. It's like, you know what I'm saying?
yeah, no, perfect example.
Should have known.
I didn't even know she covered it, but that sounds atrocious.
Yep.
I like
Fucking
T
awesome.
Swift. I'm a Swiftie. But-
I might get I might get fucking doxxed and all kinds of shit for saying that. Man. It is what it is.
Yeah, the Swifties are going to be fucking sending you death threats.
I get the Ray complaints.
Yeah, for sure. But all I'm saying is, like, listen.
You need a character to know that they have a talent,
Right,
and to struggle with that talent.
Well, no,
and
I
to come
disagree.
through on the other side, like having to struggle to learn that talent and be good at it. Whereas
Disagree. The
the
Ray
complaint
thing
was like Ray was like she was just automatically good at everything. She didn't have to.
But
do
some people are
anything.
naturally talented at things. And that criticism's stupid because Luke Skywalker did the same thing. Luke Skywalker was fucking
Which we've said this
blindly
before on the
fucking
show.
dodging the ball when he, like, the first time he picked up a lightsaber. It's not very different. That criticism's ridiculous, personally. I think.
Similar, but it is different.
I don't think so. I mean, it's like...
Every
it's
special person is special.
Right. It's a 2-hour movie.
That
You only
happens a lot,
have a
right?
certain amount of time to show this happening. Like, there are also people who are naturally gifted at certain things, right? Like, I'm a better artist than maybe you two guys. You might be able to
Both
get
of
to
us
my
combined, yeah.
you might be able to get to my level with practice and stuff, but that doesn't mean that if I'm starring in a movie about art and I pick up a pen and a piece of paper that I'm just automatically good at perspective and shit like that. That's just how that's just how it is sometimes. That's how it works. So
Yep.
to be able to like throw away some logic and be like, well, yeah, some people are just naturally more gifted at the Force. That's perfectly fine. And the same with Katara. Like, oh yeah, she's just naturally a gifted bender. She could fucking attune herself better than some other people without practice. I'm perfectly fine with that. My issue was that that's not her character, right? It's like,
Right.
and the character that they were trying to build her up to be wasn't even good because she never really got pushback from anybody other than Sokka. It just didn't make any sense. It was just very poorly done. And that's because you don't spend enough time with these characters because really, when you boil it down, the main problem is the show was short. It was rushed. You don't get to spend enough time with these characters. You don't get enough time learning with them. It's very fast paced. The pacing was terrible. They're just traveling from place to place and dealing with like a local thing. Some storylines just fucking end. Remember the one where they go in the show, Marvin, when they go to the village that's being fucking attacked by the forest spirit that was injured?
Yep.
And then Aang
With
goes into the... It was like a badger thing.
Yep.
And like Aang goes
Remember
into
that.
the spirit world and then heals it, and then they did
That was
that.
the episode he was getting hunted by the. She was in this show, right?
She
In
was,
the-
yes.
Okay.
They did her good, actually, to be
Yeah.
honest, and her animal.
An animal. Yeah.
I'll say that.
I remember the trailer. Yeah.
But they did that episode, and it just abruptly ends with no resolution because in that Sokka and Katara get kidnapped by the thing that like steals faces or whatever the fuck. I can't.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And literally the whole episode is Aang like learning about Ko and like the other avatars dealing with him and this, that, the other thing. And the episode literally ends with him just placing an amulet in the dirt and them just flying off on Appa. And it's like, that was the resolution of that whole storyline. And
It's like the what's the game adaptation we watched? Last of Us. It's like the Last of Us effect. When you try to squeeze in so much,
Yes,
and you're left with the Last
you
of Us
can't
was
fit
a
it
lot
all
better,
in,
but
and you gotta you also when you're going, and this is the problem I think, and I think I said this in our Discord. I think we're in a state where video games to live action are starting to be successful, i.e. Last of Us and Mario Brothers, and which is not live action in any sort of way. But they're getting better with those. But I think we're in a realm now where they're trying to do anime to live action, and it's in the realm of where video game to live action was 10 or 20 years ago, and that it fucking sucks because you have so much weight on your shoulders because the fan base loves that story so much and they expect so much from you that when you try to do an adaptation to it while changing the story a little bit to make it different or unique or bring in other people, that the fans, the true fans, are like, what the fuck did you just fucking sell me? I am pissed.
yeah.
So I don't know.
I think it's that. I think it's also from. I haven't seen Avatar, the show, the Netflix show yet, but like with The Last of Us, they did. It seemed like they made a choice to focus on something rather than be all over the place. Like with The Last of Us, they focused on the journey, the mission of getting Ellie to the place, right?
Yep.
So they couldn't really focus on the connection between Ellie and I forgot his name. But
Joel.
from what I'm hearing you guys describe in Avatar, the Netflix show, they didn't really focus on like the connection of the group of friends or
Not at
the
all.
journey. It's
Nope.
just kind of
They
like
left the
they took
Trinity
out
behind.
everything. Yeah.
The Trinity is in the dust, Marvin. In this show,
So you're
like,
left with like just the skeleton of the fucking
Yep.
you
And
know?
and it's all filled with exposition because they know like my 60-year-old uncle is watching this and he needs to know what's going on. So like we have to say he's the Avatar, he's the Airbender, he's like they got to say it fucking 45 fucking times, and you're like, Jesus fucking Christ, stop with the exposition and give me the story where I can feel like, oh my God, this character is interesting. This character is struggling with this, and that character is struggling with that. And what are they going to do come to the end of the season? But in this, you're like, okay, yeah, I kind of see what's coming because they're explaining everything to me like I'm a fucking invalid.
very,
Like,
very one-dimensional.
I didn't get it.
And then the key,
very one-dimensional.
and then the key things that you would hope in a shortened season, like they would focus on. For instance, the last episode with like the moon spirit, when fucking what's his name kills the moon spirit and the moon like
Oof,
Yeah.
that was fucking.
They
was
like-
crazy.
that was deep in the cartoon, man.
but they
That
like
was
barely
good.
explain that. They explain that
They
whole
did.
thing with like a
5
couple of
seconds.
seconds of dialogue from Iroh,
Yep.
and it was
Jeez.
like, all right,
Bad. It was
I remember
bad.
that episode like vividly.
Yeah, me
from the
too.
cartoon,
Yeah.
because of like the sky transition, the
Uh-huh.
music, like everything was like, oh my God,
me
this
tell
is
you
the
something.
worst thing could have possibly happened right now.
you feel nothing when the princess like takes the place of the spirit, and like
Yep.
Wow.
it's just like you
It's bad.
You feel
That
really
shit
nothing
hits.
throughout this whole thing. You feel
Right.
nothing about Aang. You feel nothing. Like I said, Iroh and like Zuko's relationship. They did it okay, I think.
Mhm. Yeah.
It might be the best like relationship in this series so far, like in terms of talking about like how they handle the relationships. That might be the better one because it's made very clear that Zuko is like just trying to be loved by his father, who's like a piece of shit psychopath, and that Iroh's like kind of his guardian and cares about him. But it's not clear like that Iroh is like a reformed man. There were a lot of points in this where Iroh's like almost like trying to help him catch the Avatar, where like in the
fuck?
like he's like on board.
It's weird, dude.
He's like trying
it's
to.
weird.
He's like, no, like we'll wait until this to strike and then we'll make our move. Like he's helping, whereas in the cartoon he's more of just like taking a backseat and kind of like
he was like always the chill.
Yeah,
he's like the guy that you know that he fucking kicks ass, but he's just
right,
super low key.
Yep.
You gotta figure it out. You gotta learn it, and I'm not gonna be too much in it, but in this one it's
so
a lot different.
They just again they failed in every possible way. And again, I really did try to watch it as if I was unfamiliar with the source to see if it would be effective, and it's just not. Just literally as a show that exists on its own, it's just not good. You don't get any good real characterization. You don't get really any good story or explanation of what's going on in this world or why we're here or where we're going and why we're doing the things we're doing. It's just like Fire Nation bad, hero, team. That's it. They killed.
I don't even think we got all that. Like it feels like, and again, like I said, they go into the Fire Nation a little bit more. It feels like they're trying to say the Fire Nation is not all that bad because we delved into it and like these kids are oppressed. Their dad is an egomaniacal maniac, and they're just trying to figure out their way in the world. And they're not so bad. Like the daughter and the son, like he was fucking sent out to the sea to fucking do an impossible mission, and he fucking did it. And you're like, oh my God, that's cool for him. And his uncle is actually pretty awesome because he lost his son and he just wanted to be with somebody that was family. And I was just like, oh
they also they give Iroh a cop out because there's a flashback where you actually meet Iroh's father, the first Fire Lord, who is a piece of shit. So it gives the impression that Ozai, I'm sorry, I said Iroh. They give Ozai a cop out.
Okay. Yeah.
Because it gives the impression that like, well, his father was a piece of shit, so he's just a piece of shit, and now Zuko might be a piece of shit, but he's got Uncle Iroh with him.
Yeah, he's got Uncle Iroh with him. Yeah.
So like, there's that.
They did some weird shit, Marvin.
How was the weird. Freedom Fighters portion?
Oh, terrible. Awful.
Was it?
Awful.
Dude, that was like another one of my favorites from the cartoon.
The best episode, I think, in this first season was when they meet Suki and like those people. That was well done because they were like a village like outside of the war. They try not to be involved. They're like a cool like army of women who were like badass.
Yeah.
Suki's badass. They did that well.
Okay.
There was also a scene where like Kiyoshi, like, I don't remember if this was actually in the cartoon, but Kiyoshi, like,
they had writers and they fired them or they left because of creative differences.
Well, hang on, let me finish my point.
They brought in new writers.
Yeah, but hang on. So, like, I don't know if this happens in the show, Marvin. You have to refresh my memory, but Kiyoshi, like, basically Aang becomes Kiyoshi to fight off the fire.
That was when
people.
Aang like restored the statue or something like that.
Okay.
Yep.
On the island or whatever.
So they did that. That was pretty cool. Matter of fact, every time he like does some Avatar shit, it has like a bit of a gravitas to it. But again, I think it's because it relies on what you know of the show. But when he goes into the Avatar state and everybody's like, oh fuck, like it's kind of cool, it's impactful. It's kind of like when Thor gets his fucking hammer back in Infinity
Neo
War,
in the Matrix.
Or Neo in the Matrix.
Like, he's the one.
Yeah, it's like that, but it doesn't really go beyond that. And I think finally, the final thing I'll touch on is the worst part of the show for me. Forget like the characterization, the acting, it's all bad. Everything's bad. But the tonally, this show is like all fucking over the place. And it left me with the impression that so as you know, the original writers, Dusty was just touching on it. That's why I cut you off because I was going to this. But
it's fair.
The original writers were originally part of this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yep.
Then they left. And that's when I was like, oh, no, this is going to be fucking terrible.
Creative differences with the showrunner.
But they were open about it. They had said in an interview that Netflix wanted to take it in a more mature direction. Where I was like, whoa.
What the fuck does that mean? More mature. That doesn't mean anything to me.
Hang on. I'll tell you what it means, because my point is this was tonally all over the place. So I feel like they left. Netflix took the valid criticism that they got from the original writers and then the fan base who was like, oh, no. We don't want this to be like more mature. And then they like went back and tried to like change some of the maturity. So Marvin, I shit you not. There are at least 15 to 20 people who get absolutely gratuitously roasted in this show in front of your face by a firebender, like burst into flames,
shit.
on fire, like Saint Maud type shit. I don't remember if you watched that movie or not when we reviewed it.
Yeah.
Like roasted. And the very next scene is like you're watching the cartoon with human beings. That the way the acting and the writing is. And namely with the fucking dude, I can't remember his name, the dude, the king of the fucking Earth Nation, the one who Aang knew as a child, who's now an old man. Boomy.
Yeah.
That dude, when I say Marvin like a cartoon, like it was like watching a cartoon.
So comical.
And a lot of characters.
No, but that's the thing is like,
hang on.
they say...
A lot of characters were very cartoonish. So this shit goes from like literally being some sort of like adult Game of Thrones type of thing to a literal cartoon. And it's like, what the fuck, bro? Pick a lane.
Yeah.
Holy fuck.
Yeah, but that's the thing is they say more mature, but if you actually go back and you watch the original Avatar
it's
cartoon,
very mature.
It's very fucking mature.
It deals with mature
And these characters
shit.
have highs and lows, and they face demons, and they face fucking obstructions that they didn't know that they were going to go up against, and it's so mature.
It deals
that
with
the
mature
writing
themes.
the writing in the original anime feels way more mature than what they fucking did. It's like,
listen,
here's some exposition, here's some fucking characters, here's their fucking dilemma. Sorry about it. If you don't fucking think this is mature, I'm sorry, but we're gonna burn some people alive, and that's mature.
Right,
I did not get it.
Wow.
It's stupid.
The original is not one of the most praised shows of all time by accident, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, like, there's that. Okay. But this is an argument that, like, Snyder nerds make a lot with, like, no, they do. Like, they say, oh, sorry that we wanted a more mature Superman. And it's like,
what does that even really mean?
well, the same argument applies. Is that, like, because the
Good question, Marvin. Good question.
And I'll explain. The Superman that Zack Snyder presents to us is one that is not a tool. Okay, he is not. He is his own person, and he will be Superman on his own terms. Ignoring
Lois, Superman and Lois.
Ignoring
he goes into the fucking
but that
the
ignores
diner, and he's like, you touched my son,
right?
And you fucking brought you raised a gun to my wife.
Like that ignores that premise.
It's not Superman. That's a father.
That premise ignores a person who knows his duty, knows what he's meant to do because of the abilities that he has. Okay, there's a very famous line that we all know: with great power comes great responsibility. That's what that means. You have the ability, therefore you have the responsibility to do it. Okay?
Right.
And that's what Man of Steel lacks, and that's why I say all the time, and that's why other Superman fans are like, this is not Superman. I get what you're trying to do it with a different character, because Superman knows what his duty is and does it. Okay? And
well, that's why I go to the Superman and Lois thing in the diner.
Hang on, let me finish. The reason why I'm bringing that up is because Aang is on a similar path, right? He originally just leaves because he's like, I'm a fucking kid, and the weight of the world has been tossed onto my shoulders. But when he comes out of the ice, he's like, oh, fuck, I abandoned my people and they got fucking extinct.
Well, he was denigrated into that purpose in this.
But
they were like, you fucking fled and you ran away. Like, he's
that's what I'm trying to say.
No,
show,
I didn't.
And I'm saying this unironically. This show took a lot of inspiration from Man of Steel. In fact, there's a scene between Aang and the old man who was his friend. I can't remember his name. that is literally line for line the scene from Man of Steel where Pa Kent is like, oh yeah, like you crash landed here in a ship, and then little Clark is like, can't I just keep pretending I'm your son? And then Pa Kent's like, you are my son. It's the same scene. Aang says when he finds out he's the Avatar, he goes, can't I just keep pretending that I'm your friend? And the guy's like, you'll always be my friend. I couldn't believe it, dude. I was like, this isn't an accident, okay? And Aang is presented the same way Superman's presented in Man of Steel. It's like, oh, he's like, he wants to do the thing, but on his own terms only.
Yeah.
And it's just like, all right, you missed the whole point. Like, the hero's journey is like, you go back through every fucking culture that's ever existed, like Hercules.
Well, it's understanding humility. It's understanding hubris and humility. It's like, you're this all-powerful being, and you have this all-powerful responsibility. But the way they present it is just like,
I just don't understand how so many writers like miss that very core concept of a hero, of like, I have this gift, therefore I do the thing. Hercules was the same. It's just like this. Every hero in folklore and history is the same thing. Hercules.
I said it earlier. I said it again. Neo.
Yeah.
The same shit.
Yeah. Neo in the Matrix.
Oh, I'm part God. Oh, I guess I have to save humanity. Like it's like the thing. So like, go ahead and explore like the fucking what's the word I'm looking for? When you have like a hesitation to do something, whatever. The hesitant hero. Do that story, but do it with somebody else.
Call it the hero's journey. You were right in that.
Don't do it with Aang. Don't do it with Superman. Don't do it like. And like, because it ignores the fact of Aang, like they present him in this, he's like, you know how Aang like doesn't want to hurt anybody, right? Mm-hmm. That's how the whole show wraps up. Is like he doesn't fucking kill Firelord when he should have.
Right.
He humiliates.
But he's also not a kid. Like the whole time, they're like they put this pressure and this burden on him where he has to like live out.
I mean, he's definitely a kid.
But the responsibility that's placed on him, like the gravitas of the responsibility, is not really explored as him as a child. Like he just takes it on like, yeah, I'm the fucking Avatar and I can do this and I'm going to do this and I'm going to go into Avatar states. Like,
well, it's not explored.
It's
not explored because
they didn't explore it at all.
It's not explored because they don't explain that other avatars of the past found out about it sometimes later in life when they were adults.
Right.
It just so happened that the air nomads realized that Aang was the next Avatar when he was a child. Mm-hmm. And when it came time to tell him, they were all hesitant about it. They show the whole scene. They're like, oh, you going to tell him now? Like, that's a big... And then when he tells Aang, Aang fucking takes off and whatever. And that's understandable. But once he realizes, like, his duty and the mistake that he made, he then takes it on. He's like, oh, okay, well, this is what I got to do. But I'm not going to hurt anybody. Like, I'm not going to hurt anybody. And he says he's not going to hurt anybody throughout, like, this whole 8 episodes. But there are scenes where he's just like launching fire fucking nation soldiers off fucking bridges and shit, like just slaughtering people. But anyway, we spent quite a bit on this. It was just really bad, and it's bad just on its own. It's bad as an adaptation. If you haven't seen it, I would not waste your fucking time. If you did see it, leave a comment. Let us know what you thought of it, if I'm overreacting, because I am bewildered by the positive reactions that this show has gotten.
Right.
All that being said, this show will likely get a successful sequel.
Of course.
And we will get a season 2.
Of course, yeah.
So are you ready for that? Are you ready to harp on that? Are you ready to...
Oh, of course.
Okay. All right.
Anyway, I'm glad I got that out of my system. That was like being constipated. I couldn't wait to talk about it. I was like refraining from messaging Dusty for like 2 days.
We talked a little bit about it.
Yeah.
But we didn't talk too much about it. We really went no holds barred right now.
Just not good. Not good.
Yep.
Have you watched anything this week, Marvin, since the last time we met up?
I did watch the Vince Staples show. It was pretty good.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, Vince Staples is a rapper.
Right, the one you linked us like a couple days ago.
It was a Netflix show. He only got 5 episodes though, because I guess Netflix.
Yeah,
I don't know. but hopefully he gets some kind of renewal or some kind of deal. It was good.
What was that about?
It's just I guess kind of like maybe like a comedy kind of about his life. He's playing as himself.
Gotcha.
It's pretty good.
So just out of curiosity, real quick, what did Ryan have to say about this show that he was like defending it? I'm curious because the videos they've been putting out are bad. Just want to say that out.
Well, okay, so in the video,
Fix your
like
shit.
in the video, it's like, is it bad? And he talks about like,
Great thumbnail.
I kind of liked about how they did this and how they did that, and then he defaults to the three other people who he brings on, who are some of them that are employees, and he's like, okay, like you've seen it like 40 times, you've seen the animation like 40 times. What did you think about it? You've seen this animation and you love it. What did you think about it? And they were all like, yeah, it wasn't that good. It was bad. And he's like, I kind of like that. You know, I kind of like the way they fucking told the story a little bit different. And they went down these avenues, and everybody that he was talking to was like, no, it's fucking bad. Like he was the only guy defending it.
But did
and
he
everybody he was
have-
talking to was
Did he have
nothing
like
really concrete. No, he didn't.
So he didn't
was
present
just
like a tangible thing.
He was
Okay.
like, I kind of like the way that they fucking they went away from the main storyline and they went into the Fire Nation story. Like some of the things that I said, like the Fire Nation story was actually kind of interesting the way they delved more into that, which I agree with him. Like that was good, but a lot of the complaints that everybody that he had on was legitimate. They were like, yeah, Aang was not doing the right things, or they didn't tell this story, or they skipped this story, or they just expositioned us to death, and it's so bad. And he was like, like he was not completely defending it, but he was kind of defending it.
Did you watch anything else this week, Dusty, other than Last Airbender?
There was one movie I watched. What was it called? The Orlando Bloom movie. Right Hand just recently came out. That was okay. He plays a guy who lives in the country, and he's got a brother who's belligerent, degenerate, and gets in debt with the wrong people. And he used to work with these people. It's almost like a John Wick story where like John Wick made us who we are. Well, Orlando Bloom made us who we are. Like
What's
this
called
is like Dixie Mafia
Red
stuff.
Right Hand.
Red Right Hand. Orlando Bloom made this lady like the Dixie Mafia queen of their area, and then he fucking walked away from it. And then his brother goes into debt with this lady, and so he has to start working for her again. And it all goes wrong, and he gets pissed off, and he goes on a revenge spree. Very John Wickish. It's okay.
Okay.
It's not great, but it's not terrible. But that's like the only really thing that I've seen. I mean,
Has a
worth a
5.3.
watch. Yeah, it's worth a watch if you're bored. Worth a watch if you're bored. Like I haven't seen an Orlando Bloom movie in a while, and
He doesn't even
does
look like himself
pretty.
in the pictures.
He does
for
a
this.
pretty good job in this film. Everybody else is kind of like cheesy, like the lady and her sons. It's all a little bit cringe, but it's okay. That's the
All
only
right.
thing I've seen lately.
Well, you mentioned the news, Dusty. What's going on this week?
What do we got?
Okay. Well, we got a little bit of news. Let's start with WB. Joker 2.
Mm-hmm.
Alla do.
Does anybody
think it's
care
what it's
about that
called.
fucking movie?
I kind of
well,
do actually.
It's gonna be a musical.
Yeah, it is a musical. The original was a $60 million budget.
Yeah, it sure was. This one's like
This
800
one?
million.
$200 million budget.
Yeah,
Hollywood.
and most
We're
of it
gonna-
is
we're
going
gonna go
to-
down this
Musical?
road.
That's outrageous. I'm never
over-
approving that on a musical.
No, but most of it's
Yeah,
going
we're
to
going-
Gaga and Joaquin Phoenix.
Well, kind of. Joaquin Phoenix Lane Gaga will earn $32 million. I think Joaquin gets 20. Lady Gaga gets 12. So that's like 60 million. That's like 32 million of the original. The first one was $60 million budget. This was 200 million but those two get 32 million.
That's quite an increase.
It is a great increase. And I don't know. I mean, I didn't really like the first one, so
I was
don't
not-
know how I'm going to feel.
I did not like that first movie. Sometimes it's like with Avatar, with the Joker. Like sometimes I feel like I'm in like an alternate universe where like
It was an award-winning movie.
yeah, I
It
don't
won
understand
an
why.
Academy, right?
I thought it was boring as fuck.
I don't understand why.
I really don't. I honestly like I never like
I'm
Joaquin
with you,
Phoenix
Dan.
was good in
I'm
it,
with you.
but the movie just wasn't.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean that's fine. I just it was pointless. Like, why do we need a fucking Joker movie? Okay, whatever. I'm not gonna get into the Joker. I didn't care for it. I'll just say that.
But yeah, anyhow, yeah, it's coming out on October 4th this year. $200 million budget. It's a musical. Lady Gaga, Joaquin Phoenix is supposed to be great. If you like it, you do. If you don't, you don't.
Cool.
Whatever. Superman Legacy. We did not talk about this last week. I forgot to put this on the news last week. I'm pissed off that I did not bring this up. They did have the table read scheduled, which is what I didn't bring up, and they happened. And we got a picture of it. So
you brought up the table read. The picture came out the next day.
Did I bring?
Yeah.
Yeah, it came out after.
Okay.
The picture came out the next day. So we had the first table read. My week.
Yeah. Well, we got new news for it. It's going into production next week.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the news we have on Superman Legacy. They sat down. They did a table read. They did a picture. It's going into filming production next week, and this is still expected July 11th, 2025. Like I said, there was a bump up. They switched that from the other movie that they were doing.
Fans are divided.
It's dead on arrival, right, Dan? That's what Dan said.
Me?
I'm just kidding.
For Superman? No, I didn't say that. I know. I'm very upset that if that's not just a stand-in, which I don't think it is, I'm very upset that that's the direction they're going in for the Superman crest. For those of you that don't know, this whole table read, one of the actresses part of the film posted her like name tag lanyard thing on the table, and it seems that the logo for the production is the Kingdom Come Superman logo.
Mm-hmm.
And Kingdom Come, for those of you that
doesn't mean
know,
anything at all whatsoever.
No, it doesn't mean anything for the story.
It does mean something.
It doesn't mean anything for the story, but it's probably fair to assume that that is the crest that the costume will have in this film.
Right.
There's no other reason why that symbol specifically would be on like the production stuff. Yeah. It just wouldn't.
James Gunn chose it for a reason.
Right. And
absolutely.
For those of you that don't know, Kingdom Come is an alternate version of the story presents an alternate version of Superman, where I believe it's an Elseworlds miniseries type of thing, and he basically it's about like a retired Superman. He's like, I think Lois dies and he like goes into retirement or whatever, and then he comes out like later on.
Yeah,
I don't think that's the direction they're going with for the story of the film. At least I hope so. But
art style, maybe.
Personally, do not like that as a icon for him to wear on the costume. I would like to see something
apparently
more traditional.
The suit has been unveiled, and some of the actors or actresses have seen it and said it's amazing.
That I didn't see.
But that's just hype.
Yeah, didn't see any of that.
Then that's just hype.
I would have rather them go with the Fleischer suit than this, but whatever.
Okay. Yeah, I agree.
Can we talk about your roommate for 1 second real quick? He's watching Monk for the first time. Is that what's going on?
No, he sat down and he listened to one of our videos and he was like, Monk. You know, Dan was talking about Monk, and I decided I don't know what I'm going to watch right now because there's not much out right now.
That's fucking.
So I'm going to go through and I'm going to burn through Monk. And he's like, he is literally binging Monk right now.
Because I mentioned it? He never saw it before?
No, I'm pretty sure he's seen episodes before. I don't know that he sat down and watched it beginning to end.
That is huge for me.
But he's like in deep.
That's
so
big.
Good job, Dan.
That is big.
Sean loves Monk.
Shout out.
Is he liking it? He's been liking it?
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, how can you not like Monk? It's a great show.
It is a great show.
Dan puts people on the good shows for the most part.
That's true. I do.
Nah, for the most part.
You all should listen to me out there in internet land. All right, sorry. Go ahead.
And let's go on to Taylor Sheridan. Landman, starring Billy Bob Thornton. We talked about that a little bit. Demi Moore and John Hamm have joined to co-star. So this is based on the Boomtown podcast. an interesting story. Looking forward to it. And we also got the trailer for the Kevin Costner movie. He is supposed to be finishing the Yellowstone season, but we haven't got to that anytime soon. We're fucking years off from that. Who knows when we'll see it? Yep. They say maybe the end of this year, maybe the beginning of next year. Who fucking knows? We got a trailer for his movie, but Taylor Sheridan is moving on with Landman. And,
is that a movie?
This is a movie. Yeah, it's a 2-part movie.
No, the Costner thing.
Oh, the Costner thing. Yeah, that's a 2-part movie. The Taylor Sheridan thing, Landman, is a TV series.
Yeah.
All of Taylor Sheridan's stuff is with Paramount. It's with Paramount Plus. He's signed all that shit. But the Kevin Costner thing is a 2-part, I think maybe a 3-part. I think it's a 2-part series, Western dramatic. And he really hasn't done a big Western dramatic besides Yellowstone, except for when he played Wyatt Earp back in the day, almost 30 years ago.
Right.
But so we'll see.
Yeah, I watched the trailer. It looks pretty good. The Kevin Costner thing.
Yeah.
I didn't watch it yet.
We'll see.
He directed it?
He backed it with his own money.
Yeah, that was the one that he wanted to be like, fuck Yellowstone, I want to do this.
Yeah, he's executive producer, writer, and director, and actor.
Nice.
So this is why we have not had the finale of Yellowstone, because Kevin Costner has been busy with his own shit.
I respect it.
All right.
Yeah, you can't knock the hustle.
Yeah.
Yellowstone's run its course anyway, I think.
Yeah.
We'll get the spinoff. We got the spinoff. We'll see how that goes with Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah.
But David Katzenberg has landed the directing gig for Ferris Bueller spinoff movie, Sam and Victor's Day Off. How do you feel about this one, Dan?
That seems funny to me. I would be interested to see
This follows the valet employees who borrow the Ferrari.
Yep. See, this isn't a dumb spinoff. This is not. This is
Marvin,
like,
have you seen this?
I have.
Yeah. This is actually like smart, because it's like,
yeah, it is smart.
They're not fucking focusing on like, oh, Ferris Bueller and fucking what's her name have a kid and it's his day off. It's like nothing stupid like that, where Matthew Broderick's gonna have a cameo. It's just like two random fucking other people. Like here's what they did when they fucking took the fucking Ferrari out. Like that's smart to me. That's cool. I'd be willing to see it. So
okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, and then I guess the last piece of news I have. I didn't find any Edgar Wright or Simon Pegg news to loop us in or segue us, so we'll just do zombies. Production Weekly has reported that 28 years later will start production in May and will indeed star Cillian Murphy.
Oh, wow.
Interesting.
That's big.
Sony has the rights to have reportedly given it a $60 million budget. So
healthy.
maybe, maybe we'll see a good movie. Maybe we won't, but
Is Danny Boyle?
we're
Danny Boyle's not doing it, right?
I don't think he is.
No, yeah, no, he is.
Is he?
I think, him and the original writer. That's why it was like big deal when it was announced.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
I'd
Yeah.
have to go back and look, but I know Sony has the rights, and it's reported now. We talked about it last week. Cillian Murphy may have been attached to it, but apparently it's confirmed that he is going to star. And so, that we got 28 years later coming out in a zombie flick. Looking forward to it.
I just gotta watch the
And
other one now.
that's all the news that I have.
There's the news, folks. The first one's good. Second one, not so much.
Yeah.
Wait, is this the one where they are making a trilogy? What was it?
28 years later is a trilogy, but
Oh,
28 years later would be the third movie of two that already exist.
It's
So-
gotta stop.
Yeah, it's too much. It's got to
Making a
Get
trilogy
away
out
with
of the
it.
trilogy movie is what we're at.
Yeah,
in today's Hollywood.
pretty much. But there's the news, folks. Let's get into today's review, this week's review. This is Make Marvin Watch Week. Once a month, Dusty and I make Marvin watch something that he should have seen a long time ago and hasn't. And this week, or this month, was Dusty's pick, and he chose Shaun of the Dead. So let's get into that. Classic zombie movie, one of the better zombie movies, I think, personally, one of my favorites. So for those of you that don't know, Shaun of the Dead, well, for Marvin, because I'm sure Marvin doesn't know, but
Yes.
so This is Shaun of the Dead, the rom-com that started it all, went on to inspire countless imitators and even breathing new life into the horror comedy subgenre as a whole. Shaun of the Dead, Marvin, is actually the first of Edgar Wright's 3-flavor Cornetto trilogy, which spawned out of his affection for pop culture and nostalgia and shit like that. And it's named after the Italian ice cream that is featured in the movie quite often. But the Cornetto trilogy is 3 distinct genre films directed by Edgar Wright and co-written with Simon Pegg, starring like many well-known UK actors and comedians, namely Nick Frost, who's always side by side with Edgar Wright. They're like a little buddy duo. And these movies generally focus on like the mundane lives of the characters in the films. They're usually just like ordinary people. Shaun of the Dead is a romantic comedy that is like satirized around a zombie flick, obviously. Hot Fuzz is the second film, and that one is like a buddy cop murder mystery, which is satirized around American action films, which are very different than British films, UK films.
Yeah.
And then the final of the trilogy, The World's End, is basically like a pub crawl adventure set in the midst of an alien invasion. But
those sound great. I haven't seen the other two either.
They're all very,
Gotta
very
watch
good.
them, Marvin. Gotta watch them.
But this one here, Shaun of the Dead, tells the story of Shaun. He's an unmotivated 29-year-old working a dead-end assistant manager job, I think he is, at like some electronics store. And he is dumped by his girlfriend Liz in the beginning of the film on their anniversary because he just doesn't put any real effort into their relationship, and he doesn't take any responsibility for his pretty fucking stagnant life. And this all takes place during the course of a zombie apocalypse. But interestingly, the main story in this movie isn't really so much about surviving the zombie apocalypse, rather the zombie apocalypse being a catalyst for change in Shaun's life. So that is something that is often missed, I find, when people talk about this movie.
Yep.
The zombie stuff is like really secondary. And it's really just there for comedy and whatever.
Well, it's a catalyst for his change somewhat because he's in the rut, and this is what gets him to
he becomes the leader during this whole
the guy he needs to
thing.
be.
Yep. And this is, I mentioned it's a rom-com, which you really wouldn't, I feel like, outwardly recognize. But this is
I definitely didn't. I don't even know. Well, we already had this.
What is a rom-com? We talked about it last week. Yeah.
Well, this is different than like American rom-coms. This is sort of a parody of Richard Curtis films. I don't know if you're familiar with Richard Curtis, Marvin. You probably know of some of his movies, but I want to pull up his credits here.
Okay.
Richard Curtis he's one of Britain's like most successful like rom-com / just romance screenwriters. He's done I guess one of his biggest movies is whatchamacallit, the one that takes place on Christmas, Love Actually. So if you've like, you know his movies. He's done like the Bridget Jones's Diary movies. He's done Notting Hill, fucking, like I said, Love Actually. He's got the movie About Time with Dom Hall Gleason. Like that's like his wheelhouse, is these like just romance rom-com things. And so Shaun of the Dead is really kind of a parody of that. That like real, very British like style of rom-com. And it's a lot of the stuff between him and Shaun and his girlfriend. But yeah, that's pretty much like the plot of the film. And as I said, it stars Simon Pegg, Nick Frost, and a host of other, British comedians. But if there's any movie that you would watch, I would say, to like really get an idea of Edgar Wright, it's this one. It really showcases like his direction style, like quick cuts and zooms, and like everything is sort of like just very kind of like fast paced for comedy's sake. But yeah, so that's it for me. Let's talk Dusty before we find out what Marvin. Why did you pick this movie? Out of curiosity.
it was time for him to see it.
All
I
right.
think Edgar
enough.
Wright and Simon Pegg are amazing.
Mm-hmm.
This trilogy of movies that you've talked about is amazing, and I hope that Marvin watched this and loved it and actually wants to watch the other two movies so that he can experience the cinematic history that you and I have indulged in thus far.
I actually think Simon Pegg is like a treasure.
He is amazing.
He's not somebody you would normally think of when you think of like great actors, but I think he's a great actor. He's funny when he wants to be. He's charming. I think he's very charming in a lot of things. I just said that like Trump for some reason. He's charming. He's very charming in some things. He's like he could do drama like when he has to. I think he's a very well-rounded actor. And you know, Edgar Wright is just one of my favorite directors. I don't think he's made a bad movie. But take it away, Marvin. What'd you think?
I thought it was great.
Yeah.
Yeah. The callbacks were cool. It was pretty funny and ridiculous for sure. I like how it hit all of the like zombie trope things.
Absolutely.
But like it was like a very natural progression of like.
Okay, I gotta stop you real quick and ask you, both of you. Okay, so my favorite scene in this movie is when they walk out back. There's a lady in the garden, right?
Yeah.
And like he comes out, he's like, "I'll be back in 2 minutes," and he comes out with a camera. Marvin, have you ever used one of the cameras or know what's going on with that camera?
You
okay.
wind it up.
Yeah. Because when he takes the picture and then they shove her on the fucking post and he starts clicking it again like he wants to take another picture.
Yeah,
I was like, I don't know if Marvin's gonna get that because I don't know if Marvin knows what a fucking camera does because everything's digital now. Like I don't know.
2 seconds.
Okay.
I guess if you were asking what my favorite scene is, mine is like I don't think anybody would guess. It's like such a throwaway little fucking moment, but it's when the second time he goes into the local store to get his soda and ice cream and like the zombies are out. There's like just a very quick moment where he like slips on like blood.
The blood. Yeah.
And it's a passing, it's the passing moment. He makes no reaction. He just slips and like the scene continues. It's so good.
Yeah, the whole intro was good to me because it was already showing like the parallels between how people are already zombies and then the zombie apocalypse happens.
It's actually brilliant because throughout the first scene where he's walking to the store and you're meeting all the people, the kid who you'd see later as zombies, but like you get little bits and pieces of what's going on, like how the society's breaking down. Like you hear like a radio of like, oh, there's a fucking like super flu going around. Nobody knows what the thing is, and he sees the paper and like the news and this and that, and then you see like somebody coughing and it was actually funny. I haven't seen this movie in a pretty long time, couple years, definitely since before COVID, and seeing it now post COVID is actually a totally different experience because like when he's on the bus and that person's coughing and it's like he doesn't really know what's going on, like he's just tuned out the world, but I don't know, it's just like, funny.
Come on, bro. You're coughing on me.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
But it's just funny how that was like so heightened during COVID and like you would imagine. I don't know. I was just kind of comparing COVID to like a zombie apocalypse and how fucked we would all be. But
that little moment where he's like, and he's like, stop it. What are you doing? I was like, I don't know if Marvin's going to get the veracity of that joke.
Yeah.
Because that's old school. Yeah.
So what else, Marvin? What else did you like about it?
I mean,
what was your favorite scene?
Well, like I said, my favorite was like I did really enjoy the intro. Favorite funny scene. Oh gosh.
Shotgun scene was pretty good too.
Just the subtlety of
them, dude. I can't really think of
so many good ones.
The subtlety of the intro is great. But like then you get like all the stuff I was saying, like this is why I say it's like kind of like a Richard Curtis movie because you have like the beats with him and his girlfriend. It's like girl breaks up with guy because guy sucks, guy like learns to be better and like do the things that she wants him to do, and there's like dramatic moments, and then there's like a love triangle, which they got in this movie too, with David, who like always loved her, but was like kind of like playing the friend.
Is
Yeah,
Lizzie going? I'm
that's
going where
right.
Lizzie's going. What's going on?
Yeah.
Here?
Yeah.
So that's where I say it's like a rom-com.
Yes,
that makes
100%
sense. That
is.
does make sense.
So this might not make any sense, but it's actually more of a rom-com than it is a zombie movie. I know that's hard
Well,
to
and that's
like,
why I like this. Like,
really
yeah.
say, but it is. The zombie thing is like so secondary.
yes.
But
It's kind of like Leave the World Behind in that sense, where
yeah,
the
kind of.
apocalypse is like
Yeah,
not even
little
the
bit.
main focus of the.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Yep.
Exactly right. I fucking love Nick Frost, by the way.
Who's that?
He was his friend, Ed.
I hate
Yeah.
his fucking friend. Actually.
Really?
Yeah, when he's fucking driving the car, when he was just
Well,
the worst.
That's the whole point.
I know,
like-
I get it.
Yeah.
You're supposed to hate him, but I fucking hated him.
well, you're supposed to hate him, and it's like that's why like Shaun is like kind of like he's the one person that like
yeah,
has his
I
back.
loved when he snapped on him and fucking like.
You're supposed to
that
be
shit
in the
was
car.
awesome.
Where's the car? It's wrapped around a pole. He's like,
No, Nick Frost is so fucking good. They work so well together, not just in this movie, but like all the movies that they appear in together,
Yeah.
and not just Edgar Wright movies, but like
Nick Frost and Simon Pegg go back.
yeah. So this movie was actually originally a concept in a show that Nick Frost and Edgar Wright did together called Spaced. It was like a wacky like parody sitcom type of show back in the day, and
Mhm.
there was an episode where Simon Pegg's character was playing Resident Evil and was having like I think he was on drugs or something, and he was like having like fantasies of being in Resident Evil basically. So that's kind of what spawned this movie. But
Right.
but yeah, don't let Nick Frost's behavior in this movie deter you from him as a person and actor, because him and Simon Pegg, oh my god, every movie they're in together. It's like they're in most movies that they're in together, but they are like such
Except for
good.
the Tom Cruise movies.
Yeah,
But yeah.
but they're such good friends in real life, and that like spills over into their movies. It's like so
Right.
much. It's like so.
The chemistry was amazing. Like
Yeah.
we watched what was the fucking stupid movie we watched? The rom-com one.
Oh yeah, Anyone But You.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the chemistry is like night and day as far as like
Oh my God,
rom-coms
yeah.
go. It
Oh,
was
yeah.
like
It is.
insane.
There's a
Not
really
just between the two, like him and his girlfriend, but
Yeah,
the
him and-
entire fucking cast.
Yeah.
Like it was crazy.
Yeah.
It was so good.
The jealous boyfriend guy. Well, it was totally different.
and that's a good reason as to why this movie is like so brilliant, because you do have this crazy zombie apocalypse thing going on, but you get so much other stuff. You get like the thing between him and his girlfriend, and you get the growth of him as a person.
Yeah.
You get the
Between
fact
him
that
and his mom or his
Yeah.
stepfather.
you get
mom.
the relationship between him and his stepdad, and then him and his mom, which is like pretty sad. And it's just like there's a lot of different stuff to this movie that is just it's just not just zombies.
Yeah, I love like the Winchester, and then when everything's said and done, they have to go back to the fucking Winchester.
Yeah,
after the-
Yeah. Let's
the
go back. Yeah.
apocalypse. It was so good. It was a lot of good callbacks. Like
Well, and
Mhm.
the
She's-
oneer.
he didn't know like exacerbate. He didn't know what that meant, and then later on, he's like, "Oh, it's just gonna
What's that
exacerbate the
mean?
situation."
Yeah.
There's a lot of good
Yeah.
callbacks. Like when he was walking as a zombie at the beginning, then at the end, I thought that was funny. I love a good callback. So
There's a
that
lot
stood out
of
for me.
British humor in this too. Like British comedy is like, I don't know how much British comedy you've watched, Marvin, in your
Not
life,
much at
but
all. I
like
don't think.
it's like very dry humor.
Yeah.
If you haven't watched the IT Crowd, highly
haven't.
recommend.
Like
have.
Oh my
Bean,
God.
Mr. Bean.
I love Mr. Bean, but
Did
that's
you,
like-
have
isn't
you
that
seen
like
Silicon
slapstick?
Valley?
What?
What did you say? Sorry.
Silicon Valley,
The
I have
HBO show?
the double, yeah,
Yeah.
HBO show.
What
yeah,
about it?
no. It's like watching the IT Crowd was the original.
Oh, I see.
Go watch it.
Isn't Mr. Bean like slapstick fucking?
Mr.
comedy,
Bean's
though, more
Mr.
so?
Bean's different, but
Oh, okay.
but there's a lot of like
I love
dry
Mr. Bean.
humor stuff in there. So like
Oh, okay.
Mr. Bean is like physical comedy for sure, but like just the sheer fact of like him being a buffoon and like that's like very dry like British shit.
Okay.
That's like sometimes like it's hard to be funny unless it's like really fucking, you know what I mean? And I feel like we've talked about this before, but I can't really place my finger on it. But like a good example of what I'm talking about is like when he goes to jump the fence and the fence just falls over.
Yeah, that was fucking hilarious.
Like that's not something that would, I don't know, like normally be funny. I don't think.
Yeah.
But the timing and the way he delivered the line before it and like leading up, like it makes it very funny. So as I say, like dry humor, it's like the guy jumping a fence and it falling over is not funny on its own. It takes like a bunch of building blocks to get there, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think this is personally one of my favorite zombie movies. So you guys know, everybody knows I'm a huge horror fan.
Almost as good as Army of Darkness, but yeah.
I don't consider Army of Darkness a zombie movie, to be honest. The Deadites don't really give zombie vibes to me. When I think of zombie movies, I think of like
that's
Dawn
debate.
of the Dead, you know, Night of the Living Dead.
I agree with you. Yeah, but they're honestly, on similar parallels.
Yeah, they are. I don't even really consider
humor. It's the humor, like the horror comedies for me is where I get, and that's why I picked this one because like Army of Darkness is hilarious and Bruce Campbell is hilarious.
Yeah, but
this is one that like it stands alone. It's great. The oneer is amazing, and they don't do it just once; they do it twice. They do it at the beginning of the movie and the end. So you get a lot of like, there's so much amazingness in this movie to just love. Yeah. Like it's just so good.
The one thing I saw in this that I feel like I've never seen other zombie movies do is like, and it was funny with the, his confusion or disbelief around the zombies, or realizing what they are, like the lady in the backyard and the homeless guy walking up to him. He's like, "Oh, I haven't changed. I didn't even have any chance to."
I wanted to bring that up because this is a very unique thing this movie does, and it's actually a gripe of mine. It's like I think I've mentioned this before, but I have a little bit of a dusty like logic gripe with horror movies, where in movies and like horror movies and shows and stuff like that, like Walking Dead is a great example of this. Like they're zombies. But they're never referred to as zombies in the world of The Walking Dead. Okay,
right?
They're never meant. They're walkers. They're biters. They're this. They're that. But they're never ever called zombies.
Like they've never heard of zombies before.
Sometimes
they
in
don't
like
say the Z word.
Sometimes in like vampire movies, they never mention vampires, even though you know they're vampires. It's probably such a small little thing, but it irks me to have like suspend disbelief to such a level because like zombies and vampires and these mythological things are so ingrained in our culture as human beings all over the world. Everybody knows what a zombie is. That it's hard for me to suspend my disbelief to think that in a universe that I'm watching on TV, say in The Walking Dead, that they wouldn't have zombies.
Right.
But this movie
they would have them, but they wouldn't call them that.
Well, no, because if they're not immediately saying zombie in Walking Dead, then you have to assume that zombies don't exist in their pop culture in that universe, which is very hard for me to believe. But that's why this movie is unique, because this is one of the only movies I've almost ever seen do it, where Nick Frost was like, Ed is like, it's a zombie.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. We don't do that. We don't say the Z word.
Right, that was like a funny little thing because Nick Frost is like, oh wait, like I know what a fucking zombie is. That's clearly a zombie. Yeah. And then Simon Pegg like doesn't want to go the extra mile to like be like, oh yeah, no, it's for sure zombies. So he's like in denial almost. But like in real life, if you saw a fucking zombie, you'd be like, oh, it's a fucking zombie. In fact, I don't know if I ever told this story on the show real quick. I was outside one night. I was putting my dog out. It was like maybe 10, 11 o'clock at night. And up the block from me, maybe like a 5-10 minute walk, there's a bar, like a corner bar up in town. And I was outside with my dog, and I heard in the distance,
zombies.
I look and peeked. I was like, what the fuck is that? As it got closer and closer, I peeked over my fence.
Yeah.
And there was a woman, like an overweight woman, shambling down the road like this. Like having like an asthma attack. And I looked over the fence and I freaked the fuck out. I was like, I'm not even joking you. I was like, you've got to be fucking kidding me right now.
It's
like,
happening.
It's a fucking zombie. And she kept walking. My dog started barking. I grabbed her and I brought her into the house because I didn't want to like the dog to draw her attention to like have her come down my driveway. But I came back out and I was watching her and she like collapsed in front of the car of my neighbor, was like yelling like, oh, I was like, dude, this is a fucking zombie. So like,
that's hilarious.
That was my first like legitimate unironic reaction to seeing that. It's hard for me to believe in movies and TV shows when there's zombies that show up. Like people aren't just like, oh yeah, it's fucking zombie.
Yeah. I agree. That actually made me think of, you asked my favorite scene. My favorite scene is when I forgot her name. One of the other guy's girlfriend is teaching them all to act like zombies.
Lucy.
Diane,
I'm sorry.
scene.
Lucy Davis was the actor.
Oh yeah, they're in the backyard and she's like, we need to dramatize this.
Well, because she's the failed actress, so they had her.
And she's like, yeah, that's good, but yeah.
That's so a really funny scene too.
The funniest part within that is the mom.
Oh yeah.
When she's like, that was great, and she was like, what do you mean I wasn't there? Or so, I was somewhere else.
I spaced out.
It was so funny.
That one and the boyfriend, she's like, you're disappointed, and he's like, yeah.
Yeah.
I also really love the banter when they're first at the Winchester and he's kind of arguing with Liz and she's like shitting on fucking Ed, and then the camera pans like Ed's just standing there playing video games and she's like, sorry Ed, I like you, and he's like, yeah, it's all right, and then Simon Pegg starts shitting on her friends, and then like the camera does it again and it's like they're sitting there and he's like, no, it's fine, I like you guys, and they're like, yeah, no, totally fine. But like, that's the introduction to like all the other characters, the supporting characters. It's very, very funny and
it's good.
Fucking Edgar Wright's like a genius, and I love everything he's ever done.
Yeah, I love this movie because the absurdity to it, like there's a little bit of believability to it. Like you're like, okay, maybe this could happen.
Yeah, the progression was great.
As you watch it, you're like, okay, that's a little bit absurd. Okay, that's a little bit absurd. The absurdity to it is just like, oh, this is chef's kiss. Like,
everything that
you did a great job.
The Walking Dead just copied everything, even down to
absolutely
Ed being chained up at the end.
Oh yeah, that was
hilarious. That was great. This is playing video games. Come on, man, don't chew my arm off.
Yeah. And that reality TV show was like the icing on the cake of the
with the
I Married a Zombie or whatever.
Yeah. So
it was perfect, dude.
I don't care what people say. I love him. He's my husband.
Yeah. So this is
or even the fucking military troops showing up like at the end. Like, did you expect that, Marvin? Like,
no, I didn't know what the fuck
they're sitting in this bar and you're like, okay, how are they going to get out of this? And all of a sudden, like the British military shows up and just starts mowing people down.
And that's a zombie trope that happens in like every zombie movie.
The rescue.
Like, it's not even a rescue. It's the opposite of a rescue because it's like everybody died. Like they were they're
lucky they didn't die.
Marvin,
it could be worse. Think about Return to the Living Dead.
You don't know worse, Marvin.
They just fucking firebombed the fucking city.
You don't know.
Hell yeah.
You don't know worse, Marvin. In 28 Days Later, hopefully you forget this by the time we ever make you watch it. But at the end of that movie, because that movie takes place in England as well, and they go across country. It's a lot like that movie feels a lot like
zombies are faster, Marvin. In that one.
I don't even consider that. I don't even consider the creatures in that zombies. It's different, but we won't get into it. But
so it is believable when they don't know what zombies are.
28 Days Later is very believable. No, I don't consider them zombies. It's very believable.
Right.
It's a good one.
But anyhow, at the end of that movie, you don't like. They're very isolated. It feels like Children of Men. They're traveling across like England and stuff to get to a place, and you don't ever know if this is like a global issue. And at the end of the movie, you just get like a very quick little shot of a plane flying over in the sky, giving you the impression that this is like isolated, or can give you the other opinion that it's going to spread to other places.
It's spreading, yeah.
Right.
For sure.
But yeah, so that's like the trope, right? Is like, man, we fucking fought through this shit, and like we lost like everybody basically. We're the last two survivors. Well, now the fucking military shows up. It's just like a kind of little like irony.
When you said that, it made me think of another scene, which was the boyfriend getting pulled through the window and his fucking guts getting ripped out, and then she's fucking trying to fight with his leg. I'm dude, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah. No, it's very funny. It's got
That's when it went off the rails.
It's got all the good
off the rails.
It's got all the good tropes of multiple genres, which is, I think, the brilliance of this is how effective it does that. Like it's playing with multiple different. It's playing in multiple different worlds, and that's I'd imagine not easy to do. I don't know. I don't know if
they're
this
sitting
is
in a bar. And everything looks like it's going all right, but then this guy's guts start getting ripped out, and people are fighting with legs. It's gone off the rails. I don't even know what's going to happen now.
Why do you think they had that? What's the word I'm looking for? Correlation, maybe. The similarities between the group, like the main group, and then you know how he had the
secondary group.
She was
how they were all this, and they walked by and they're like all the same. That shit was funny.
The parallel friends.
She was a little the friend, the girl who was leading that group.
Yeah.
She was a little Easter egg. She was his friend in the show Spaced.
Oh, okay.
So I think they were just playing with that.
They just wanted to. Okay.
Yeah.
That's just some Edgar Wright humor.
Yeah, but I love Edgar Wright. He's definitely one of my favorite filmmakers. I love Simon Pegg. I think I've seen just about everything they've both done together and separately. Speaking of romantic comedy, Simon Pegg is in a lot of like off-brand like rom-coms, and he's great in all of them.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. Like Shaun of the Dead is amazing. It's definitely one of the best zombie movies that's ever been made for sure. Doesn't matter that it's a comedy or whatever. I don't know that it's my favorite of Edgar Wright's movies.
Oh wow!
I think the second in this trilogy ekes it out just a little bit for me. Hot Fuzz. Hot Fuzz is like
Hot Fuzz is great,
fucking amazing. And his last movie I thought was really good too. Last Night in Soho. Very different.
Have you seen
movie
all
for
the
him.
Mission Impossible movies?
Oh, I'm not talking about Simon Pegg. I'm talking about Edgar Wright. For now, but Baby Driver, like this guy's movies is just endless good movies.
Yeah, Edgar Wright's amazing.
Yeah, Simon Pegg. I don't know. I think Hot Fuzz is for me just ekes this one out tiny bit, but yeah, this is a classic for sure, cult classic for good reason. Glad Marvin enjoyed it. I was a little bit worried there.
Yes.
Sometimes Marvin's a little questionable.
Nah,
I'm glad you liked it.
You can't hate this one.
No,
I don't think there's been a Make Marvin Watch that I haven't enjoyed though.
You didn't like Predator really that much. You kind of.
Oh well, that was just. I mean,
oh yeah, that's right. I totally forgot he was.
Marvin did not like Predator that much.
I was on the fence on a little bit on that one. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
It's all right.
This is this has a 7.9 on IMDb. Very high rated.
Oh yeah.
A lot of 10 out of 10s in the review, in the comments here on IMDb. I would give this movie a 10 out of 10, honestly.
I would give this a 10 out of 10.
You would?
Well, yeah.
I don't have any complaints with it.
I mean, 9 is the highest I go. You guys know that. I don't give a 10 out of 10, but I will give this an 8.5. It's not a perfect 9, but it's definitely up there, 8.5.
There's only one movie that's like a comedy horror that I think is that I think might be a little bit. Maybe it's not better. It's like on par
Army
with
of
this.
Darkness is mine. If you want to ask.
No, I know that. I love Army of Darkness, classic. But there's another movie that is definitely inspired by Shaun of the Dead, but it's Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Oh, that's a good one too. Yes, so good.
Yeah, it's really up there with this. I just thought of that off reading this, but yeah, everybody loves this movie. There's no there's a couple of like bad reviews on here, but like they're so fucking stupid.
Fuck them haters.
This guy goes, I know this is a fan favorite, cult classic, whatever you want to call it. I've never been a fan. I even gave it another chance all these years later and still feel the same. It's pretty funny early on, but there are almost no laughs in the second half. There's a bunch of unnecessary and annoying relationship drama, not the family stuff. That was good. And there were a bunch of really stupid parts. Overall, not terrible, but it's not good either. Like, okay. So you missed the whole point of the movie.
We didn't even talk about like the catastrophe of like him having to save his mom.
Oh yeah.
And then kill his mom.
Uh-huh.
Like there's so much in this movie that is just so nuanced and good. Like you can't hate this movie.
Well, that's what I said. It goes through many different genres at once.
Yeah.
So, yeah. This guy says it's not that funny or really interesting. Zombies have been done in so many ways. This one doesn't really stand out. Okay.
Well, Cam.
Interesting. We found the contrarian, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, glad you liked it, Marvin.
Yep.
Now we got to get you to watch the rest of the trilogy. Each movie has nothing to do with the previous one, by the way. They're only a trilogy in that they all feature Cornetto ice cream, or Cornetto, however you pronounce it.
Yeah, Simon Pegg and
his
sidekick.
But yeah, here's a boring and not funny at all. Okay, interesting.
That's crazy.
But yeah, let us know, folks, what you think. There's our thoughts on Shaun of the Dead, a classic. Marvin has finally watched it, thanks to Dusty. Loves it. Yeah. Glad he's seen it. Another notch on the old belt for him.
Yep.
You're getting shit done, Marvin. How's that feel?
A lot of shit. It feels good.
Does it feel good? Yeah.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking real quick, one thing I want to talk about, the rules of zombie movies, right? It's like, it was enough that they like knew they were zombies. They identified them as zombies, but they left enough there to be like, well, they don't know, like the rules of zombies aren't exactly established. They have to find that out for themselves. Like they don't automatically just start trying to aim for the head.
Trauma.
Yeah. The news.
So I like how they handled it.
Can't believe I had to report that. Take out the head.
Yeah.
I was interested, like, because it is London or whatever, not many guns around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was interested about how they're going to actually survive.
Absolutely.
One last thing.
It's a fascinating story, Marvin.
They do another interesting thing in this where a lot of zombie flicks don't really show you, like, society, like, come back. This, it ends, it's like, it was all pretty much just dealt with in, like, a day or two.
Yeah.
And after the fact, there was on the news, they go back to that like subtlety of just like kind of things kind of like happening in the background that you don't really fully like pay attention to. But like they cut off like one of the news reports when he's going through the TV, and it's like, scientists believe the source of the virus was, and then they like change the channel very quickly. So it's very fun, playful, love it.
I love the usage of the news throughout the. Like when he's trying to show off the capabilities of the TV or whatever. He's like, we got this. Oh, shit. And it's like every channel is like breaking news. That was great.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. A lot of real subtleties. That's Edgar Wright being a master of his craft. But yeah, folks, there you have it.
Great film.
That's going to do it for us. Highly recommend. If you haven't seen it, definitely watch it. If you have seen it, let us know what you thought about it. What maybe your favorite scene is. Leave a comment. And maybe tell us what you would rate it. So, yeah, I don't know. Next zombie movie from Marvin. I got to think on that. Think on it. If you guys have any ideas, by the way, for what we should make Marvin watch, let us know.
Send us a tweet.
Reach out to us on Twitter.
Post a comment.
Leave a comment down below. You can find all our links on our website, harshlanguage.tv. Don't be shy. If this is your first time here and you enjoyed, consider subscribing. Hit the notification bell, do all that shit. But otherwise, we will catch you next week. Thank you for listening and or watching.
See ya.
Basta.